It's been almost 20 years since Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone. That phone didn't have a selfie camera, couldn't record videos, and only had a tiny 2 megapixel rear camera. Fast forward to now, the iPhone 17 has two cameras, with the main lens at 48 megapixels, that's 24 times more pixels than the original, and a much larger sensor, plus massively improved computational power. If you put photos from the first generation iPhone next to the latest one, the difference is unbelievable. We have come a long way in the past 2 decades, but the pictures from the original iPhone still have their own charm. When I was comparing old generations of iPhones just out of curiosity, I realized that progress was a bumpy road. In some cases, it actually felt like image quality went backwards. We will get into what I mean later, but to keep the timeline consistent, let's talk about the iPhone 3G next. The iPhone 3G was introduced a year and a half after the first iPhone, in June 2008. This version had integrated GPS and 3G supports, but from the camera perspective, it was identical to the original iPhone, still a 2 megapixel shooter without a selfie camera and without video recording. Maybe that's why if you put the original iPhone and iPhone 3G photos next to each other, you can't really tell the difference. But hey, at least it has a nostalgic aura to it. Then, Apple released the iPhone 4 in 2010 and the iPhone 5 in 2012. The iPhone 5 had a 8 megapixel camera, which is a lot more than the original iPhone. They also went back to the aluminum body, added the lighting port, and included a selfie camera. This generation already looks and feels like a modern device. I should also say I really like how the iPhone 5 pictures look. The optical quality is much better than the original iPhone, but due to the lack of computational photography, the photos look soft in a good way. Yes, details are lacking, but this is the kind of an image a photographer like Maria would rather get. Also, this iPhone had video capabilities. The video is nothing groundbreaking. You can feel the exposure shifting and the stabilization isn't great, but it has a nice, soft, nostalgic look to it. The iPhone 6 came out in 2014 with faster focusing, but the iPhone 7 was when things started to change. In 2016, Apple introduced the iPhone 7 with a 12 megapixel camera and a larger sensor, and the iPhone 7 Plus was the first phone to feature a dual camera setup. It was also the year that Harambe were killed. They also added a lot more computational photography to their phones. This is a hot take, but I definitely prefer the iPhone 5 picture over the iPhone 7. When it comes to video though, there is a clear upgrade from the iPhone 5. The colors are more accurate and Maria's face pops more. The iPhone 8 came out a year later in 2017 in two variants, the base iPhone 8 with a single camera setup and the iPhone 8 Plus with a main camera and a telephoto lens. The main camera on the iPhone 8 was the same as the iPhone 7's, but added 4K 60 frames per second video functionality and better color sensors. The pictures from the iPhone 7 and iPhone 8 looks almost identical, sharpened, contrasty, and with muted colors on both phones. After the iPhone 8, Apple released the iPhone X, XS, and XR in 2017 and 2018. These devices had edge-to-edge screens, Face ID, and looked like modern iPhones. Touch ID was now gone. The iPhone XR had a large 1 to 2.55 inch sensor and a 12 megapixel camera. They also switched to a 26mm focal length, which is wider, and have kept this focal length to this day on the base iPhone models. If you look at the pictures from the iPhone 8 side by side with the iPhone XR, the XR produces more accurate colors. It is more vibrant, and the white balance leans toward magenta instead of green, giving more life to Maria's face. The same can be said about the video. The only thing is that I find the iPhone 8 handles exposure better, while the iPhone XR tends to overexpose the image a bit. 1 year later, in 2019, the iPhone 11 was released, and this one is actually my current work phone. The iPhone 11 had a dual camera setup, marking the first time a base model had two cameras. The second camera was an ultra-wide lens. The iPhone 11 also had a 12 megapixel main camera with the same sensor size as the iPhone XR, but with a newer sensor. We can see a slight color shift compared to the iPhone XR. The iPhone 11 is more vibrant and slightly brighter. Personally, I low-key prefer the iPhone XR here. If you compare the iPhone 11 to the iPhone XR in terms of video, the iPhone 11 seems to have a greener white balance, but overall the quality is quite comparable. The next phones were the iPhone 12 and 13, which also had a cute mini version, but the next one I want to talk about is the iPhone 14, released in 2022, with a much larger 1 to 1.7 inch sensor, though it still only had 12 megapixel on the main camera. It is no surprise that compared to the iPhone 11, the iPhone 14 photos have more bokeh and appear sharper, maybe even a bit too sharp, depending on your taste. I'll let you judge that for yourself. I would say that for video, the quality is in the same league. It seems the video pipeline is nearly identical between the iPhone 11 and 14. The iPhone 14 just has a bit more bokeh. Before we go to the iPhone 15, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. We are trying to reach 80k subscribers by the end of this month. Right now, we are at 70k. In 2023, Apple released the iPhone 15, which featured a large 1 to 1.56 inch sensor and for the first time a 48 megapixel main camera instead of 12 megapixel. Compared to the iPhone 14, you can see a big jump in photo quality. Skin tones are more accurate and the bokeh looks better, giving the phones a more professional feel. In 2024, Apple released the iPhone 16 with a better processor and introduced the new camera button in this generation. However, the main camera remained the same, so it is no surprise that if you compare the iPhone 15 and 16 side by side, you will notice almost no difference. Maybe just a slight white balance shift, which could simply be due to the lighting angle. This year, just a few months ago, we got the iPhone 17. This one has a few notable upgrades over the last generation, like the new 120Hz display and the square selfie camera, but when it comes to the main camera, the sensor size and pixel count remain the same. That's why photos from the main camera are almost identical to those from the iPhone 16, which in turn looked very similar to the iPhone 15. The video quality is also more or less the same. Personally, I can't really tell the difference between the two. Now, if you zoom out and look from the first generation iPhone to the iPhone 17, I said there is a clear improvement from the original iPhone up to the iPhone 5. Then, Apple started to compensate for the lack of optical quality with heavy computational photography, a trend that continued until the recent iPhones, where we are finally seeing a return to more natural and less contrasty photos. And of course, the camera isn't just about the main lens and portrait shots. Apple has improved video quality, secondary cameras, autofocus, night photography, and many other aspects generation by generation. But it also feels like we are gradually reaching a plateau as the iPhone matures. There are also now Pro versions with better telephoto cameras. If you enjoyed this video, you can see the comparison of the latest iPhone 17 versus the iPhone 16 Pro to see how those two stack up. Thanks for tuning into Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.